My name is Jeremy Spoon. I'm an associate professor of anthropology at Portland State University. Since 2004, I've conducted research in Nepal. In 2015, I pivoted my research to focus on the catastrophic 2015 Nepal earthquakes. Since the earthquakes, there has been short-lived media attention, as the relief phase is typically quite short after natural disasters. It is the phase of recovery that can unfold over years and decades in which this project focuses on. We selected two highly impacted districts for the research, one at the epicenter of the earthquakes and one that had the highest number of deaths per population. Within each district, we selected one community that was near to the road and had access to aid and participation in various businesses. And we selected one community far from the road with less aid and more reliance on herding, farming, and the collection of forest products. In the first phase, conducted between 2015 and 2018, we found that disaster recovery is indeed multidimensional. Each of the four locations had their own starting point in the recovery and were moving in positive and negative directions. We found that hazard exposure, livelihood diversity, and experiences of displacement correlated the most with the recovery outcomes. In 2017, at the end of the first phase of the research, we conducted 8 research return workshops with the newly elected local government officials, the aid community, as well as applied academics. In these workshops, we created accessible deliverables to disseminate both our quantitative and qualitative research in accessible ways. These deliverables were utilized in the current work of those different folks involved in the recovery. They also help with cooperative learning for the future. In one of our cases, we found that the settlement further from the road that had less aid were actually recovering quicker than one settlement that was at the end of the roadhead that had more access to aid and some small tourism businesses. We think that the community further from the road were able to recover quicker because of social capital through work exchange. We found that folks in that area were helping each other to rebuild their homes rather than waiting for outsiders to help them with it. To the contrary, the other settlement that we found at the roadhead that was recovering slower were waiting for outsiders to come and help them rather than to take the proactive steps to help themselves. The new study will build on the results of the first phase. We will re-enroll the original 400 households and conduct surveys and interviews with them in years 5 through 8 after the earthquakes. Our hope is that the research will be integrated now into the recovery, as much of the aid community has already left and moved on to the next disaster. We also hope more broadly that our research will help in the understanding of how rural mountain communities recover from natural disasters so that we can avoid one-size-fits-all disaster recovery interventions that don't take into account all of these cultural and spatial factors. My name is Jeremy Spoon, and I study how rural mountain communities recover from natural disasters in order to understand how to respond to these ever-increasing events.